It was in the Neolithic that gender differences first appeared, which led to male dominance in later periods of history. To arrive at these conclusions, the researchers have analyzed two groups of indicators. On the one hand, life conditions and demographic aspects. On the other hand, funerary practices. Situations progressively appeared that indicate dominance of men over women. The authors point to four important lines in which inequality between men and women can be investigated through successive historical periods. Their access to funeral rites, the material conditions of their existence, the appearance of specific social roles for each of the genders, and the growing association of men with violence. Researchers considered data like the type of burial, the primary or secondary character of the deposit if it was individual or collective burial, the spatial organization of the site, the position and the orientation of the bodies, the funerary goods that were placed in the tomb, or the funerary movements, the arrow wounds on male bodies, and the depositing of projectiles in their tombs, or their practical representations, such as cave paintings of men hunting and fighting and having no equivalent parallel in women. Therefore, the authors point to the birth of an ideology that connected men with the exercise of force. In this sense, they highlight that the creation of different roles according to gender.
As the 90s dawned, things were looking up for women. Daughters of second-wave feminism came of age and chose new paths unavailable to their mothers. Delaying marriage and children, pursuing higher education, joining the workforce, and assuming independence and identities outside the home. The gaps between men and women in education, quote, have essentially disappeared for the younger generation, declared a 1995 report by National Center for Education Statistics. Almost half of married women surveyed in 1995 reported earning half or more of their total family income, leading the study sponsor to declare, "Women are the new providers." Cultural feminism in the 90s made strides as well. The girl power movement promised that the progress for women would trickle down to girls too. Indie subcultures defined by girl-made zines, music, art, and websites flourished, providing young women new platforms for self-expression. In other countries, gender equality and women's empowerment have advanced in recent decades. Globally, girls' access to education has improved, the rate of child marriage declined, and progress was made in the area of reproductive health and reproductive rights, including fewer maternal deaths. Nevertheless, gender equality remains a persistent challenge for countries worldwide, and lack of such equality is a major obstacle to a sustainable development. Now we will watch Emma Watson's speech. Emma Watson is an English actress, model, and activist.
But sadly, I can say that there is no one country in the world where all women can expect to receive these rights. No country in the world can yet say that they have achieved gender equality. Men don't have the benefits of equality either. We don't often talk about men being imprisoned by gender stereotypes, but I can see that they are, and that when they are free, things will change for women as a natural consequence. If men don't have to be aggressive in order to be accepted, women won't feel compelled to be submissive. If men don't have to control, women won't have to be controlled. Both men and women should feel free to be sensitive. Both men and women should feel free to be strong. It is time that we all perceive gender on a spectrum instead of two sets of opposing ideals. If we stop defining each other by what we are not and start defining ourselves by who we are, we can all be freer. And this is what he, she is about. It's about freedom. I want men to take up this mantle so that their daughters, sisters, and mothers can be free from prejudice, but also so that their sons have permission to be vulnerable and human too. Reclaim those parts of themselves they abandoned. and in doing so, be a more true and complete version of themselves.
Emma Watson introduced to the UN the revolutionary campaign He for She. Revolutionary because it's a new way to see gender equality. It highlights unspoken truth about how being a man could be hard nowadays. It's not about women wanting to be superior, hating men. It's about people asking for the same rights. Feminism, by definition, is the belief that men and women should have equal rights and opportunities. Feminism has become an unpopular word, Emma Watson said, and it's the truth, but the problem is the misunderstanding behind the concept. For rights is meant being paid the same as men, being able to make decisions about our own body, being involved in politics and being able to make decisions that will affect our life and socially being afforded the same respect as men. It's not the word feminism that is important. It's the idea and the ambition behind it. Emma Watson said, "Men, gender equality is your issue too. Being a father is valued less by society. There are kids that never see their fathers because they work, because this is what society has taught them, to work while the mother is at home. Men are afraid to talk about their feelings too, because this would make them less of a man. So if men don't have to control, women won't have to be controlled." Jeffrey Epstein has been arrested on June 6, 2019, on charge of sex trafficking and sex trafficking conspiracy. Most of the victims were women, and a large percentage of it were underage. Epstein's implication in human trafficking has been going on for more than 12 years. So the question is, what's the point in having laws to protect people against something if they're not applied? And that's what this case demonstrates. All of the systems have to be willing to implement the laws to make them really work.
World Peace is Not a Myth is a TED Talk by Rut Yerda. She was a student at the Stockholm School of Economics, the best business school in Sweden, surrounded by the brightest minds in the country. To her shock, when she talked about the matters of solving world hunger and giving everyone in the world equal opportunities, her classmates sighed and told her it was a nice idea in theory, and have you ever heard of survival of the fittest? Their counter-argument to her was that the statement of world peace was not human nature. She would reply with comments such as, "Humans flying is not human nature, but they do it every day in airplanes. Humans worldwide have achieved so much more than human nature, but the idea of world peace scares us and seems impossible." Jody Williams defines world peace as sustainable peace with justice and equality where everyone in the world has access to resources to help them live a dignified life, such as access to healthcare and education. The simple goal of world peace, as Yerda defines, is to eliminate the wealth gap on which some people lead extremely privileged lives while others live in misery. The world is already working towards this goal whether we realize it or not. Within the last 20 years, the amount of people that live in extreme poverty has decreased by half. Though we can look at the imperfections in the world, we have to acknowledge the fact that we are slowly becoming better. In the 19th century, the amount of children dying before the age of 5 was 44%. Today it is 4%. Though we can argue that 4% is still high, to which I agree, we have to acknowledge the improvement of humanity. We did not come this far to only come this far.